This year's ride chair. We've got Aaron, who just left the room.
Hello.
And we've got a few people on the phone too. I apologize to you guys on the phone because it's going to suck. I'm not going to lie to you. So I believe Aaron has sent the deck out to you, and we'll do our best to enunciate and be loud so you guys can follow along. So anyway, tonight's meeting is about to go over the details of the ride, where we're going, what we're doing, what to expect. And this year is a bit of a different ride than we've done in the past for those folks who have done it with us previously. So before that, we'll get into some housekeeping things. Wellspring, we all know what Wellspring is. This is why we're here. It supports events on behalf of Wellspring throughout the GTA and the various programs that it offers. I think it's what, 40, north of 40 programs it offers?
Yes, 40 programs. Services and programs. Yes.
Services and programs. And it's all free, and it's not funded by any taxpayer dollars. It all comes out of events like this, so it's really, really important for this organization. We're cycling for 8 days. When you do the math, we're really cycling for 7 days, because first day is really only half a day. Day 8 is really half a day. So we've got a lot of territory to cover in 7 days. So we'll get into that because there's a lot of exciting detail in behind that coming up. And our fundraising goal is $500,000, and we're slowly making our way that way. So, so for tonight's agenda, so we'll go through the folks in the room and who is who. Aaron's going to give a bit of a fundraising update. Then we're going to break into 2 different sessions for the warriors, and then for the riders and the support vehicle volunteers. And then we'll come back together, do a bit about Las Vegas and any questions that we have from there. But let's keep it interactive. So if you have any questions on the way, if I can answer them, I'll do my best. If I can't, I'll lie. So. All right. So I think we're missing 2 of our warriors.
We're missing 2 of our warriors tonight. So Michelin unfortunately couldn't join us, and Louise Granahan couldn't join us tonight. But certainly provide a warm welcome for Carolyn, Tracy, and Corinne.
So Carolyn, can you stand up so we know who you are?
Everyone?
Hello. So, welcome. You guys are actually, this whole thing is a little bit foreign to you right now, right? And you're kind of like, what's it all about? And then as the week goes on, you're going to start to get attached to it. And then by the time you get into Vegas, everybody's riding in, you're going to, it's really going to touch you and it's going to affect you. So it's going to be a really interesting journey for everybody. So, motorhome driver. So we'll go through that. Ron and Glenn. Glenn's not here. Ron, stand up. I am not standing. Good stuff. So we now have a bit of a logistical challenge in that we've lost a motorhome team in terms of Tina and Helen. So we're actually actively trying to replace them. We'll get it figured out. And then Mike and Jill Fabrizi. Hello, everyone. Yeah. Okay, the follow vehicle drivers. These guys need no introduction, Dave and Gary, but I'll introduce them in. Chris is on the phone, and Danny is here. Danny?
Hey. Mike is unable to make it.
Mike is giving someone a rub down, but Stephanie is. There's a little context behind that. He is a masseuse.
So am I, actually.
Very handy to have on the ride. I'm not saying I'm doing
So we're in our van. What's your hourly rate?
Mike said he did not want the 24 riders to know that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to be
Male riders.
I'm pulling that back.
The 2 female riders, it's okay?
Well, that's why we have Mike.
All right, so return vehicle drivers. Brian and Andrew?
Not here. No, but they're the grizzled veterans.
Yeah,
on this,
okay.
so
Donna and Ted aren't here. Nancy and Steve aren't here.
Yep.
Deborah and Sean? No.
Nope.
And Peter and Stephanie?
And there.
All
Okay.
veterans.
So okay. So their job is equally as important to get all of our gear back and our bicycles safe and sound. So now on to the teams. So the ones shown in purple are the team captains. The blue is who is assigned as the warrior this year. Usually we have teams 1 through 5. This year so far we've got it just by their name because we haven't actually assigned the team numbers yet until the rotation schedule gets done, which we're working on. So we'll put the team numbers to it shortly. So Steve Horowitz, Steve Crazy Legs Horowitz. Rick Green. Paul's on the phone, but I'm sure he's standing. Jonathan's not here, and we've got Tracy. Billy. Sorry.
Right out back.
So on Team Chung would be Billy Chung.
Right here. Hi, everybody.
Ryan. Terry, who's not with us tonight. Eric, I believe, is on the phone, and Thomas is also on the phone.
Hi, guys.
And their warrior, Michelle.
Is that Terry?
That's Terry.
Yeah. You can't forget Terry.
Okay, so Team Ferguson, a team consisting mostly of lawyers, so feel free to crack jokes. So we've got Ron, who is suffering in Rome right now, so he's not able to be here tonight.
Yeah, he's suffering, right?
And it's questionable whether he's standing. Curtis, I'm not sure. He was. I think he was hoping to make it tonight. Hasn't arrived yet. Stuart isn't here. Craig. Yay, Craig. Brains on the team anyway.
Troy's my team member.
Literally taking it for the team, right?
That's right. And myself, I'm on that team, and I'm also going to be the ride captain this year. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we get into it. And our
Terry.
warrior.
Terry.
So, for information, this is Terry.
I started it.
Okay, on Team Iron Maiden, so we've got Ken Maiden. We've got Paul Eldridge. Woo!
The whole team is there. That's commitment, man. You better get the transitions on time.
And on Team, I'd rather be skateboarding instead of riding, but they made me ride this bike is Rob Dyer.
Yeah, Rob.
If I'm not mistaken, you've pretty much skateboarded this route in the past. Is that
Yeah, 2004.
Nice.
You have one massive leg and one really small leg. Tyler?
Tyler.
Adam? Johnny? Jess? Along with their warrior, Caroline. So. That are driving, cycling, pedaling, walking, crawling towards Vegas. So, congratulations. All right, Harry, over to you.
Well, thankfully, you guys have been doing some amazing work, and just to be able to illustrate this, I updated this morning, and we're already up to $380,000. As daunting as the task is before you of traveling down to Vegas, certainly raising $500,000 with such a small group is an incredibly powerful statement. It winds up working on such a deep and emotional level for our warriors and for the members that we serve. So thank you very much for all the work that you have done, that you are doing, and that you will be doing in the coming weeks. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to servicing every need that you guys have. You have my number. We've traded a lot of emails. It's great to be able to put faces to the names. So, keep those requests coming. So you guys know how to get a hold of me. Don't be afraid to use it. And I think I'm going to regret that. A big part of that sponsor amount is our sponsors. And I know that I have a couple of sponsors that are here tonight to be able to help that. I know that Ron's not here to be able to speak with Stikeman Elliott. He's done a lot. I do know that we have yourself here, Ken, and RSM. which is our jersey apparel. So everyone, you've already gotten your jerseys. Know that they're nicely fitted because Ken wanted to make sure that they were there.
I designed them myself.
And of course, we have a lot of other longtime sponsors and supporters that have been here. So, you know, this continues to get bigger and better every year. Looking forward to be able to taking the success that you're providing us over this year's ride and translating that to future dollars. So thank you all very much for what it is that you've done for us to this date. All right. Why are we all here? Now, I know that most of you have done this ride for a couple of years. We do have a couple of first-year people, but you have become very intimate with Wellspring and the services and programs that we provide. For people that don't have as close of a personal touch with us, we look for you to be able to really connect with your warrior. They are people that can speak to these things on a much deeper level than even I myself can. I know that I lean to Christine a whole lot, and for anyone that hasn't met Christine, Christine is the grizzled veteran of Peloton rides. So I'm the new guy. So Christine's done a lot to get us to this point. And I don't know if I'm missing anything on kind of those key points of Wellspring that you would want to be able to add.
No, I think you summarized things nicely, and I'll be joining the team in Vegas along with Aaron and our CEO, Christina Smith. So we're really looking forward to meeting you all at the finish line.
I heard there was a party there. That was.
Apparently.
All right, we're going to get into some of our breakaway sessions.
Last year, for those who had done the ride as well, we were on our way to Miami until the Wednesday before. And then one of those small storms rolled into Florida, and there was 20 million people going south, and we didn't want to be 25 people going
north.
Yeah, other way around. You get the point. Anyway, I think it was Wednesday, Steve?
Yep.
The week before, we're leaving Saturday. Wednesday, we're going, okay, this isn't going to work. So where we're going to go, we end up going to Austin, right? Mad Scramble was a success.
Pull out some
On
old
the
maps.
Thursdays when we decided.
So after that ride, we're kind of like, we don't want to do this anymore. Because the year before, we just missed a hurricane that came in behind us. And so the planning committee got together. It's like, okay, what do? We got to keep it off the coast. And the interesting thing is, once you kind of go inland off America, there's not much there. And we went back and forth on various options. And the one that kind of jumped out at us, and certainly jumped out at Billy because it was his idea, was Las Vegas. And so this is going to be a really interesting journey because if I were to check, I think there's about 5 kilometers that is common with any other route that we've ever done before. So this is all brand new territory, and none of it's been ridden except for those 5 kilometers. And I think Ron did some stuff near Vegas. Other than that, this is all virgin riding for us. So in looking at what we were going to do is how do we get down here? And as I said, Billy is a bit of the mad scientist in behind the route planning. And one of the things that came up as we were doing the planning was Route 66. So we're riding Route 66 basically from underneath Chicago all the way to Vegas where we cut off. And then part of it from Ontario into the south of Chicago part. And so it's going to be a really cool journey. We're going to see a lot of things. So in terms of, in fact, I think I missed one in there. I think Nebraska or something. There was one in there. Kansas?
Kansas you hit for a little corner.
Yeah.
Or like a little blip.
Yeah, so we see a lot of states. We see one province. We see a lot of interesting geographical features. The Great Lakes Basin, the American Midwest, the Great Plains, Southwest, the Continental Divide. The petrified forest is up in the air right now because we may or may not be there when it's open during daylight hours. You're going to see dessert, and if you do it right, you're going to have dessert. And then this is all along Route 66. So a lot of things to see on the way. We're going to see Rusty Bridge. No, Billy will speak to this one. But in fact, this is a
Chain of Rocks.
Chain of Rocks
Old
Bridge.
Chain of Rocks Bridge. It crosses the Mississippi River. And that's where you can't do a follow vehicle on here, but you get to ride it. There's some stories. I would suggest you look it up. There's a few interesting historical stories of things that happened on that bridge. So
So I can't take the RV on that?
You can try, but
You
there
can
won't
attempt.
be a bridge afterwards.
Or
RV.
I was just following the path.
It's a nice stretch, and this bridge, the other thing that happens is actually it angles, so it goes straight in and it actually angles off too.
And what state's that in?
It's just outside of St. Louis. St. Louis.
That's Missouri.
Missouri.
All right, no, I'm just taking down notes here. Full insurance for motorhome.
All right.
Extra accidental.
Someone's going to be lucky, or a team is going to be lucky enough to have this view riding basically right under the halo planet.
The arches.
The arches of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Going to see some really interesting things. There's going to be desert. This is in through Arizona. In through Texas. So this does not look like riding in Ontario, in case you hadn't noticed, right? Again, we're hoping that this will work out the the Petrified Forest, but it's only open during daylight hours. And as the planning has it right now, we'd be passing by there at nighttime. But the way I've referred to this ride is going to be very dynamic. So that means going to be a lot of things that are changing along the way. So we'll see. And Boulder City, this is where we're finishing the night before we enter Vegas. So we all come together there, try to get the teams in as early as we can. I'll get into a bit more of that as we get into the logistics. And then that's where we gather the night before, have a bit of our own celebration dinner, and then, rest up and then into Vegas the next day.
Those are just some finish line logistics slides. We
Yep.
can talk about it later.
Yeah, okay.
Go back to that.
Okay, so ride characteristics. So this ride is going to be, for those people who have done this before, it's going to be quite different than in the past. Traditionally, we've ridden in around 3,300K to get us into Miami or to get us into New Orleans. When we first mapped this out, this was 4,250K. That's not 3,300 kilometers, that's different. And we don't have any more time to get there. So that poses a logistical challenge. And so what we're going to do is we have to go faster than previous years. Just physics, right?
How do we solve the problem?
Catalyst.
More revolutions.
Yeah, more revolutions. And yeah. Traditionally, past rides, the aim has been about 120. It ended up between 150 and 130. This year, 150 is what we need to do. When you work it out backwards, every shift is 150. If you're doing 120, we're 30 kilometers behind, right? And we'll get into the goal of the 150 and how we're trying to move that up so we can get that last team in as early as possible. So we have to be way tighter on our timing than previous years. So what I mean by that is how much break time we take is a big part of the consideration. Now I've got a slide that illustrates that. What our transitions are. These transitions this year need to be super sharp. Need to be wheels on the road no later than top of the hour when you're designated to go out. It can't change. Because if it does, you're going to have to go faster. It's simple as that. Or you're going to have to drive part of it, which we'll talk about. There's going to be sections where we're on a bike path. And again, this is part of the dynamic nature of this, is that the team captains are going to make this call as, before the shift starts. And they'll communicate with the follow vehicle about how this is going to go.
Has left the conference.
But there's going to be sections through the Midwest that are on bike paths, and we think that's better because it takes us off some of the roads and it takes us off some of the traffic, and we think we can actually get through faster. But that creates a logistical challenge and where you're going to meet the follow vehicle on the other side of the bike paths. So things to consider. As I said, we haven't ridden this previously, so there's been a lot of drag the little man out on Google Maps kind of stuff happening. Billy gets a lot of information from a cycling association down in the States. This is not new to them, but it's new to us. But it is a bit of a proven path.
Well, even though we have never ridden any of this route and it's completely brand new, one of the different things this year for us is in past, it was pretty much we had to wing the route, right? So we had people driving the route. we had some people doing the Google Maps and then really trying to map the route out from a blank slate. This year, for a big chunk of the route, we took the Adventure Cycling Association of in the U.S. that has Route 66 mapped out for people who actually want to bike it. Wow. And so that became our base route that we worked off of. We fine-tuned it for the purposes of our ride, modified a few things. So it's not like it's a completely unknown route to us. It is a route that people have ridden in most cases. So that there is a good peace of mind there, and that it's
for sure. But what we don't have this year is the Oracle, as John Philp going, well, at this turn in Tennessee, watch out for this low bridge or this, this tree that's hanging out in the road. So we don't have the Oracle sort of inside out.
Yeah, he's riding in Britain right now.
He's riding in Britain right now. So as I said, it's going to be dynamic. So we need to be flexible. We can't be locked in because there's going to be some things I can guarantee that we're going to encounter on this road that we're going to have to adjust to on the fly, just the way it is this year. That makes it more interesting in my opinion, but that's just me. If you go back, just go ahead. Okay. So, when you look at the variables that are going to impact our success, some are within our control. The riding speed is largely within our control. Efficient transitions are up to us. Brake times, again, are up to us. Skipping sections are up to us. And then we get into things like weather and route issues and, closed road or whatever. We don't know those until we encounter those. So again, we have to play. We can't plan around it. We just have to plan for it. So, and the unknown unknowns, which clearly we don't know yet. So, okay. So this year is a little different again for those that have ridden previously, where the whole philosophy previously was there was always bicycles on the road, and there was unbroken chain that went from end to end. And that was the philosophy for 7 years. And, very good philosophy when it's not 4,000 plus kilometers. This year, we have to change the way we think about the ride. So there are going to be sections where we won't have wheels on the road from a bicycle perspective. There's going to be times where we have to get into a vehicle, or, a person or a team has to get in a vehicle. And, there's no stigma with that. In fact, it's a necessary part of what we do. And so when we're getting in vehicles, before that was just something you didn't do. You had to keep going. This year, it's part of what we have to do to accomplish the distance. So it's completely acceptable that and expected that individuals will take rests for sections, right? Some will want to ride the 150, and that's good, but don't slow your team down in trying to do that because there's no heroes on this ride, okay? So, there's a way, I'll give you an example momentarily of, possible shifting options. So our team within a team almost, but if an individual is slowing a team down and we now endanger that 150 goalpost or the 6-hour time limit, we have to consider that, right? And then if the team, it's perfectly acceptable for a team to skip sections too. There's going to be sections of highway you might suss out and go, I'm not really comfortable with this. Let's get in the motorhome and let's skip it. Perfectly okay. And if you're falling behind, not only is it okay, it's actually expected to keep things on schedule. So rule of thumb, if you're tired, take a break for a section. And if the team is tired or slowing, consider driving for a section. All perfectly okay.
Just to be able to highlight what's been different as well for this year is there will be a bike rack on the motorhome. So you don't have to worry about packing your bikes up onto your lap as you're putting into the follow vehicle and the motorhome. So those pieces are put into place to be able to engage exactly that.
So Ron and Mike and Jill, the motorhome is actually going to play a much more integral role in terms of what we do and how we accomplish this year than in the past, where it's always had an important role. It's going to be much more integrated in terms of our strategy this year, and we'll get into that momentarily. So the ride shift distance is 150 kilometers. And the time to complete is 6 hours. So, again, if you want to take a leisurely 25 kilometers an hour, you don't get a break. And as importantly, the guys in the follow vehicle behind you also don't get a break. So, that's not the best option. If you take two 15-minute breaks along the route, you see what it does. Your average speed now is up to 27.5 kilometers an hour. And these breaks go by extremely fast. you'll just be getting off your bike, having a sip of water, and that 15 minutes is up, right? And so it's, Steve highlighted this in the captain's meeting earlier. If you're getting off on a break, you actually might want to set a timer because the time just slips away on you very quickly. And if you're late and you miss something, you get lost, or you slept in or whatever, and you're like 60 minutes late. Now you're expected to ride 30 kilometers an hour, so you're kind of punished for being late. So, but the flip side again is get in the follow vehicle, keep things on time. So this is just a chart to sort of illustrate that the longer you take your breaks, the more it impacts the overall goal.
What is the average cruising speed like? Is that going to change over time? Because day one everybody's fresh by day 6. I know it has to be consistent, but have you guys, when you follow on your first rides, have you guys planned out or like you've measured what your usual speed is?
Is it?
So this is the average cross ride. Now the reality is in fact, so my experience, and I looked for the other guys that've done this before, is day 1 you're fresh, day 2 you're a little tired, day 3 you're kind of your stuff's getting sore. Day 4, 5, and 6 it all starts to come back together and you start to get stronger again. So that's been my personal experience. I don't know if you guys would feel the same, but no matter what, this is the average. So if we're falling off, we need to consider the impact, and again, get in the follow vehicles, get in the motorhome, whatever, move things forward to where it needs to be.
It'll be fluid. We'll be watching the distance covered on a day-to-day basis, and then need to evaluate what needs to get done to get to the finish line. That's basically what needs to happen here.
Are there any big elevation stretches, or is it largely
No, so
flat-ish?
it's fairly flat while riding without a follow vehicle. We all ride without follow vehicles. All our training's been, except for one, has been without follow vehicles. But if it's at nighttime and it's a busy road, maybe not the best idea. So again, game time call on how we want to approach that. If the team is more than 20 minutes behind, that team that is running behind ought to think about coordinating with the motorhome, getting in, and then getting to the end.
I guess the problem with leaving early though is that the motorhome's gonna have to catch up, because it's gotta service the team that's on the road already, and then it's gotta get ahead of the next team.
Yep, that's
Right, but the problem, the nice thing or the crappy thing is that there are only 2 short breaks, so which means that they're not stopping as often, which means if you gun it a little bit, you have a better chance of getting ahead.
Well, I mean, I use that example. I'm not saying you have to take 2 breaks. I'm not saying.
I'm hypothetically
Yeah.
speaking.
Yeah,
Sorry, hypothetically.
If they're too far behind, you can't
No,
leave
but if
it.
they're supposed to be there at
Motorhome
6
can't
and they're
take
not
two
gonna be
places
there
at
till
one time.
6:30, we're just waiting around.
Yeah, just burning time.
Go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, at best you're going 30 kilometers an hour. So if the team goes out 60 kilometers, it's 2 hours for the motorhome to catch up to them.
Yeah, and that's totally doable by the motorhome. And that's when you would maybe
That's
think,
what I was-
start thinking about your first break anyway,
Thank you.
60-ish out.
Well, if you have a break and you don't have a motor home, it's not the end of the world. You just stop at the side of the road and
Have a break.
have a break.
Yeah.
And other than Jess and I, and as long as the guys on the team don't care, we can all pee in a bush.
Well, we're going to get into that because while we're waiting for the technology, let's talk about
I'll pee in a
that.
bush.
Let's talk about that for just a second.
I played football. I'm
But part of what the motorhome has to do, it has to fuel up, it has to do various things, but it also has to empty the tanks. And if we're asking the motorhome to be more participative in the ongoing route, we can't have those tanks full all the time. So guys, find a bush somewhere.
Thank you.
Here's the elevation you'll see. So this is the full route. I'm not sure why it's taking so long to load, but the first half of the route is relatively flat. There's nothing major. And then the second half you'll see when we hit kind of Oklahoma here, you'll start having a gradual net increase in terms of elevation. We'll do some up and downs along here, and then we'll make it into Vegas this way. So it's not huge. It's 20,000 meters over 4,200 kilometers.
So that's like 200.
There's about 4 shifts that have about 1,000 to 1,200 meters elevation, and then the remainder of them are all under 1,000, and some are actually within 500-600 meters.
Okay.
So if your distance is, or if your climbing is less than 1% of your distance, it's not a terrible day, right? So, but on the flip side, you do see a grind for about 800 kilometers out. So it's about 1 or 2% for 800 kilometers. That'll be fun. And some headwinds probably because you're going into the prevailing winds, right?
Just be on the rule book getting in the RV. I think I heard you say if you are running behind, you are expected to get in the RV, or you're wasting everybody else's time. Is that the translation? So
Yeah,
get in the RV.
Yeah, that is it's more blunt form.
Can I ask a dumb question, but it's gonna be the dumb one? So what if the RV, like it's determined the team has to, how is that communication gonna happen? Because they could be out dumping the sewage or doing, like.
I'm gonna get into that.
Okay, sorry.
Go back to the slides.
Maybe that's such a dumb question. If it's not there, how do you get it? The follow vehicle, I guess, RV, I don't.
All right, so here's an example. If you do decide that you don't want to do the 150 and you want to shift out, here's just, this isn't gospel by any means, but here's an example of how it could be done. Right? Here's an example with a team of 5, an example of a team of 6, right? And these are 35-kilometer chunks, so you can take 35 kilometers off that 150 to take it down to a 115 ride. Again, absolutely perfectly acceptable way of approaching this ride. So, and again, that's in coordination with the motorhome because it's not going to be done with the follow vehicle. The follow vehicle hasn't got enough room. It's going to be done with the motorhome.
So you wouldn't necessarily do it at a rest. You'd have the motorhome meet you somewhere and.
Well, if you decide that this is how you want to approach the ride for that,
That's a
particular
rider
shift,
rest.
then that's what you work out with the motorhome.
Right. Who makes the call on whether or not they get into the motorhome, if it's an individual, but also if it's like a team thing to move forward? Is it always the team captain?
Team captain.
Okay.
That holds 5 bikes. Motorhome, I can guarantee, will hold all the people. So transitions. This is a critical part this year because if we mess this up, we mess the entire schedule up, right? Be there at least 60 minutes before, and so many times I've been there like 40 minutes before, 45 minutes before. Think you get all the time in the world. Next thing you know, you're still putting your gear on, and the team's rolling in, and it's top of the hour. And then you've got dedications to do. You still got to fill your water bottle, and still got to check the air in your tires. So minimum 60 minutes before the top of the hour.
And you want the team already having their dedications and all that done. So when this team pulls out, the other one should be pulling out?
So dedications, yeah. So dedications are to be done before the top of the hour, so we can keep this thing on track. Be ready to leave at your designated time, no later. So again, have your bike ready, tires pumped up, gear ready to go. If the incoming team arrives early, high five and cheer them in. But we don't have an awful lot of time to socialize. They've given you a bit of a gift in terms of you can get out early. You don't have to run such a hot pace. So if they come in early, leave early.
Your person question?
Yep.
What do you mean by dedications?
So, of course. So we're all here for a reason, right? My reason is my wife, right? So at the start of every shift, it's wheels in with the riders and the volunteers are in with you. And you talk about why you're here, like why you're doing this ride. And it actually becomes a very powerful moment at the start of each shift in terms of why you're doing this. And it's also very emotional for most people. So you're dedicating that section of the ride to a particular individual. So sorry, yeah, just I guess tribal knowledge that I just assume everybody knows, but yeah, thank you, Jason. Know your shift characteristics, right? So if you've got a shift that's coming up that has got a section of highway, be familiar with it. If you're on a shift, like we outlined, there's not a ton of climbing, but if you've got a shift that has a lot more climbing at the back than at the front, be aware of that and just don't do your 30K with some mountainous climbing at the back end of it that you have to overcome. So be really familiar with your shift as you're getting on the road so you know what you're dealing with. And so study the Bible, study the ride with GPS, and we're working on the book. That's the Bible. That's all the mapping and all the details of what we've got going on. If the preceding team has not arrived on time, check with the follow vehicle to see how far out it is. And if what we just talked about, if the team feels it's safe to proceed without the follow vehicle, captain's going to check it with his team. You guys are going to make a decision to whether you leave or not. A little easier in the daytime than the nighttime. Nighttime you've got you're less visible even with the lights. But again, make the call for what you feel is safe.
to that end, if you were starting a night shift ride and you're finished, because we do the 12 hours, right? Right. So, if you're with the people, the first part of your shift and they're slow, and you're meeting a group that's starting at 6, wouldn't they need the more support? Would you ever leave that team that's late to start with these guys to give them more support?
No.
So like
You
if
would
the
finish
team
with
coming
that
in
first.
the
You'd have
follow
to wait
vehicle.
for them because they have to get their stuff. And,
No, the follow, are you RV?
I'm
or
talking
follow?
about fall vehicle.
oh.
So like leave them with their last 30K to ride on their own and they
And to
buck
catch
it
up
up
with
to
you
go.
guys. So you guys are not-
if,
I'm
you know,
following.
if it's a follow
That's
vehicle.
what I said too.
So
Yeah.
if it's a part where they follow vehicle volunteers to transition, they'll just have to transition out and then catch up with the riders.
But if you're part of, like, you're doing your 12-hour shift, right? So
Yeah.
you're following one team and then you're gonna follow the next team.
Yeah.
If the next team is already ready to go and it's like daylight's burning, the first team is still behind, would you want the follow vehicle to stay with that first team that's late? Or could they go
Probably
ahead to
stay with
start-
them at that point instead of trying to catch up. Just stay with them, and then once you get to the because they've got their stuff in the back of your van anyway.
Oh, right, your bags, right?
Right.
Some bags.
So
Yeah.
get to the transition.
Toolkit.
The toolkit, right, okay.
Get the transition point, dump the stuff out, and then try to catch up.
What's acceptable for a team being late to the point of then having to pile into the vehicle and drive?
You're trying to avoid that, so you should
Yeah,
pile
it's
in
gotta
before
be,
you get to that point.
that can't happen.
Yeah, you're trying to avoid it.
Don't
You
do
need
that.
to, each team is gonna need to be watching their distance and time throughout to see how they get to that transition point in various different creative ways if necessary.
I would imagine that would be a discussion between the team that's in progress, the captain, and the one that's gonna take over.
Yeah, there's gonna need to be communication all around so that they know where they're transitioning, how far out.
Does it make sense that at the 4-hour mark of the ride,
Yeah.
the decision be made?
We actually just talked about that, that's when it's gotta be made.
Yeah, that's pretty much because if you got a team that's sitting there, you're coming in an hour early.
Yeah.
And these guys, and the team that's coming in is, if they make that decision an hour at 5, it's too late.
Yeah.
Right? So really, it's an hour 4 decision going, okay, are we gonna make this?
Or what are you gonna do? Yeah.
They'll need to haul into the RV, right? So the RV can't go to the transition point.
No, that's right, so I'm gonna get
They
into
have
that
to
as
get in
well.
the, yeah, they have to get in the RV.
The same is true if you're ahead of schedule, right? Because if you want the next team that's coming on to be there an hour ahead, they have to be able to expect a call, maybe even getting them up early to say, hey, these guys are ahead.
Yeah, and that's always been the case. If something's coming in early, we'd often phone ahead, say, we're coming in early, accelerate your time to transition.
Or you go farther.
Or go further, yeah, pick up the
Yeah, I
If
think
we're
it's-
lucky and we have teams rolling faster than we anticipate, are we going to allow that to gain time over the days, or are we gonna try to keep that within, like, if every team's half an hour early over 3 or 4 days, now we're talking hypothetically a couple hours. Changing the clock, are you allowing that, Bill?
I think what we're aiming for is we're trying to cover mileage. We're trying to get as much mileage as we can.
If you can add
So
10 to
if you
each
can
trip.
add mileage to it, whether it's driving a little bit extra because you have to be in to cut off a little interstate section or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, some shifts are gonna say, hey, guess what? You might have covered, correct me if I'm wrong, you might have covered 170K, you've ridden 140, the 30 of it was driven, but you've covered 170, we've gained some mileage but I'll let you know, 150K in the 6 hours is very tough to do. Like because you're gonna have stoplights, you're gonna have turns that you don't know where to go. Trains. We waited 15 minutes for a train on our last ride, right? Things are gonna come up. So the 150 in 6 hours, I mean, that's.
Dog carry.
And
Because-
those bike passes
Put you in the
are
front.
people.
Because the reality is
Hold
the
that
way that the
pace.
distance is worked out, there's one team that has to ride one more shift than everybody else. And we're trying to eliminate that, right?
Yeah.
We want them to come in early so they can enjoy the celebration on Friday. And we don't want to, have them take yet have to do another shift.
We
So,
want them to have 30K.
yeah, 30K, we want it to be shorter, so. Sorry, can you go back one and make sure to get all the points? Okay, yeah, we're good there.
This isn't really has an issue, but I know in the past we stayed on one time zone the whole time.
Yeah.
Are we doing that again?
We are staying on Toronto time the entire way.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll make it's going to be in the book as well, but just so everybody knows, set your clock. If you got a GPS based watch, turn the GPS off or whatever it is. But the time is always Toronto time until we get to Las Vegas.
Okay.
Good, thank you for bringing that up, Rob.
Troy, just to go on, there's one point I want to make. If you're in the very fortunate position of being able to cover more than 150, and you're going to arrive early, it's very hard for the next team to adjust, particularly in the midnight. You're getting on at midnight at 6 a.m. because you've gone to sleep at a certain point and expecting to be somewhere. So, if there is that unusual situation, I would suggest the team goes a little farther if they have the time to do it, rather than expecting another team to be there early.
I think it's easier to adjust that way because if you make that call 2 hours out saying, I think we're going to come in a little hotter than we thought, then you can alert them of that. But to get people up early and on the road early is like herding cats.
Yeah, that's it's impossible.
It's like telling your kids to get ready for school early. It's not gonna happen.
But you also have to keep in mind there's a dynamic is that team may be staying in a spot where they think they're only driving 10K to meet you in a transition, and that team overnight had to skip a few sections of an interstate or whatever, or had to cut through the petrified forest. That there is going to need to be some planning ahead, a few shifts ahead, I think.
Yeah, and also the expectation of the captain is to get up earlier than everybody else and go, okay, what's going on here?
And then you might need to call the sirens to everybody saying, hey, everybody, get up early, we got some more driving.
And again, we're going to look to either the motorhome or the follow vehicle to be alerting everybody via WhatsApp to what the progress is, right?
Because that happened one year, like it was way farther than anyone.
Yeah, that'll happen. Okay, we got a lot of ground to cover. So the incoming team. So we talked about the outgoing team, the incoming team, the guys that are on the road. That's me. Does that kick me, son? So if you're coming in, get your equipment out of the follow vehicle as quick as possible because that follow vehicle needs to get back on the road for the team going out. Again, have the follow vehicle. Well, this stuff we just kind of talked about. So that's the logistics of being behind. Now, motorhome. Ron, you've lived the motorhome for what is it, a decade now? 20 years. Mike and Joe, this is new to you. Motorhome has always been critical to our success. There is no greater sight in the world when you're tired and you see the light flashing at you for the motorhome. Waving, right? Traditionally, the way it's gone is you'll talk to the motorhome team and you say, okay, we're going to ride 60 kilometers. Meet you there, right? So motorhome does its thing, dumps the tanks, gets some gas, finds a spot 60 kilometers out that's safe and sound, and kind of parks for an hour or two, whatever it is. And but the motorhome this year is very much more tightly integrated because if people are skipping sections, we have to make these real-time calls. We can't have the motorhome 50 kilometers away. It takes too much time to get back. So we have to have the motorhome kind of in and around where the cyclists are on a real-time basis, right? So as an example, so if you've got a 60K break that you talk to the motorhome, okay, we want 60K, we want to stop. Suggestion is motorhome goes ahead 20K and waits for the riders to go by and make sure the situation is good. Once they go past, you leapfrog them again by another 20K. So you're never more than 20K away. You're never more than 15 minutes away, kind of thing, 20 minutes away. They go by again, you leapfrog, and then you get back. You get that 60K point, find the spot to set up, and then the riders come in. Now it's going to be a much more pressure on the motorhome drivers. Usually you got to go find the spot, set up the whole bit. So you won't have that same luxury in terms of time of setup. So again, if there's things that have to be done in terms of motorhome maintenance, gas, dump the tanks, whatever, suggestion is probably closer to the front of the shift. That's where people's legs are more fresh and things are going well. You should hopefully be on time at that point. Things aren't coming off track yet. You need to be more available as things go further out in time.
When we starting to ride, we would talk to the captain and say, how are you guys feeling? You could say, pull 30 and wait for us. Would that happen like sometimes?
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right here, right?
So, okay.
So go 20, wait for us to pass. Or you might say, okay, we're going to do that plan. We're in 35K, we're going to have 1 or 2 people getting into the motorhome to skip a section. Right?
Okay.
And that's an example of, again, how we're going to be using the motorhome as an integrated part of the ride.
There's a general question on the route. Are there any sections where it's really remote and there are not too many towns and?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, most of it.
So getting gas is gonna be the
So
thing,
getting
right?
gas for the
Yeah.
follow vehicle will be a challenge.
Just keep it topped up whenever you see a gas
Because
station.
that's one of
topped, I
the
guess.
problems.
Yeah. That's
Like
really
the motorhome can go off the route to get gas, but follow vehicle cannot.
Yeah, so, yeah, Stephanie's right. We need, if you're down around half,
Or even.
you pass the gas station, fuel it up. If it's a safe situation, the riders are okay dropping the follow vehicle for 5-10 minutes, and then it catches back up again.
So that's the opposite advantage, is that there's certain areas that it's gonna be so remote that the riders can say, you know what, go get gas, we'll just keep riding, there's no traffic.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing, yeah, that's where it plays out.
Excellent way
right?
to look at that.
Well, because there's the mountain, passes or the mountain range, there's usually not,
Yeah, I know, we're keeping it out of Colorado, so we shouldn't have that
well,
too
there's
much, but
one, I don't know what the continental divide you're going around, but that's.
the easy one.
Okay. Well, that was lots of gas.
I did that.
The rest of
We deleted that on the map.
Well, just a little suggestion here. Is there a way that we can get like a 5-gallon tank, like a jerry can?
Yeah.
Keep it follow vehicle.
Yeah, probably not a bad idea.
It's an excellent idea.
So we'll keep it filled up just in case we don't have anything.
Yeah.
Great point.
50 liter.
Yes.
They'll last us about, 200 kilometers.
Yeah, we're gonna-
Already wrote it down.
Great idea.
There's no smoking in the
Really?
follow
No
vehicle.
smoking.
Billy,
What's that?
It's covered.
wrote it down.
Okay.
I'm just eating orange.
Okay.
It's
All right.
oh, are you kidding?
Trying to
He
respect
starts
folks'
10
time.
minutes
All
in on
right,
the
keep
bike
going.
and
One priority, we're riding because people, are ill. We don't want to kill ourselves. It just would seem ironic. So let's make sure that we're safe. Meeting your 150-kilometer goal in 6 hours is your next highest priority. Make sure everybody's safe, and let's make sure that we hit our constraints, or stay within our constraints. Got to be prepared and to make the calls in real time as things come up, and I'm sure your team will be absolutely supportive. For the team coming in, don't leave food, water, gas until the last few minutes. We need to plan ahead. We've got 24 hours, really 23 hours if we're trying to get there an hour ahead. So use that 23 hours wisely. And again, the captains have the final say on team matters. Okay, just a few other thoughts on timing. Mechanicals should be fixed in the follow vehicle. Waste of time if 5 people are standing around watching a guy fix a flat tire. Right? So get back the follow vehicle and fix it there. I understand we do not have a spare bike this year, so we can't jump on that.
No, I can bring my other one. I have my blue one. I can
Okay,
find
we'll
it.
talk about that, make sure we get enough room with the gas and everything else, and, okay.
I was gonna talk to you about it after.
Yeah.
but-
Okay, and again, keep an eye on all the time, break time, transition time, the whole bit, because it flies by way faster than you think. Okay, I'll go through this quickly. The hidden facts of the thing for the folks who haven't done it before. A lot of driving in this. You think about it. So you're doing 150K. You're one team. There's 4 other teams. So they're each doing 150K. So that's 600 kilometers ish that you have to get to your next transition point. So there is a lot of time in the van. Actually, and it can be a lot of fun in there too. So enjoy the time in the van. There's spots where there may not be wireless coverage. We're in some fairly remote areas. Plan for that. We do have CBs in all the vehicles as well. Rain or shine, a hurricane or whatever, the ride continues. Small town restaurants with small town menus and small town.
Lovely people.
Lovely people. I found this amazing. I go into Corning, New York on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock to think the place is going to be rocking, and like everything's shutting down. So everything shuts down early in the States, I find, relative to here. The hotels, motels, when we've done this in the past, it's been pretty easy to find like a Holiday Inn Express along the way. I don't think we're going to have quite the same luxury this year. So as you're doing your planning out, you got to be looking ahead to what hotels you're going to be trying to book ahead. Takeoff times at 12 a.m. Always love that shift. 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. So 3 of the 4 shifts, you're going to need lights. Further south we go, the earlier it gets dark. And check out, yeah. And you're with your roommates 24/7, so that's a lot of togetherness.
I'm lost.
All right, and Steve, I'm looking for you to chip in on this as we go through, but 150 kilometers on one, do it on a Sunday or Saturday. Yeah, you feel a little tired, at least I do. But do it day after day after day, it's going to be a bit of a grind, and you're going to start to feel it. And it's going to be a physical grind, and it's going to be a mental grind, so we got to be prepared for both. So, Steve, maybe you can talk briefly about the nutrition part of it, and
Sure, I sent an email to Troy the other day because I think this is one of the most important things this year, much more important than in other years, and that's because riding 150 kilometers, it's way more than most of us do normally, and let alone 5 days in a row. And I think everybody's going to be you're going to be losing muscle mass, you're going to be losing energy. The only way to keep it up is by refueling, eating a lot on the road, and also staying hydrated. And it's really easy on a cold night or a night ride, or it's just plain cold, to forget to drink. And if you get dehydrated on day 1 or day 2, you're not going to recover for the rest of the ride. So teams have to work together to make sure that everybody's conscious of eating and drinking a lot when you're on the bike. It's if one rider takes a drink, you stick your ball up in the air to remind your teammates, drink, to pass it along. And that's a pro tip, actually. I learned that from a pro rider.
That's a good tip.
So question at the back. Was that?
Oh, Ron,
Were you-
Ron, yes, the
question?
meeting also applies to the motorhome.
Crazy. It's eating less this year, so. We'll take Ron's share. The question is, when we're humping the riders in the motorhome, when we're driving, is that like party time or is that business?
That's business.
What?
Steve, what?
Everybody's like,
My husband had
Never mind.
as we're going over extra distances and less rides, and we want to keep hydrated, he had suggested, like a hockey team pack to keep extra bottles possibly beside the drivers in the follow vehicle. So if we run out of fuel, we can grab an extra bottle out of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure necessarily you'll have extra bottles, because then that's tricky. But
put your name on it.
You might want to bring that, but your cooler should be in the follow vehicle, and have food where you've got your tote case or your tools. Have some food in there as well, because if you're going out 60K, you might find 30K into that. You need to refuel.
Well, you have food in your bag.
Pardon?
You have food.
Well,
in
yeah,
your bag.
maybe you don't have enough, or just I found having a little extra, taking some extra food, extra water in the follow vehicle is a really good thing. It doesn't take up much extra room.
Yeah, that's what
I want to go back to food again, because first of all, there's a typo there. It's supposed to be not just PB&J and cookies. So I think teams got to think about when they head out. Like I had this situation a few years back, and I was riding with Rob, and we were joking about it earlier. Like we had lunch at 1 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock is when you need to have dinner if you're cycling at 6 o'clock. We forgot to have dinner at 4 o'clock, and we ended up going down the road with not much food. Fortunately, we found a McDonald's while we were on the road and fueled up at McDonald's, which is great. So you got to be thinking about that, and you got to say, let's stop at Subway, and everybody grab an extra Subway sandwich and put it into the motorhome, and we're gonna have that at 8 o'clock at night or something like that. You just got to think ahead and be really conscious of food on this ride.
Okay, in addition, so monitor your teammates, make sure they're doing okay from a sort of the hydration and food perspective. Be kind, you're behind. If you start chafing day 1, I guarantee you ain't going to be better by day 5. Right?
The captain's keep a check on that.
Yeah, well, that's a follow vehicle's job. No, but seriously, do the chamois cream, whatever you need to do. Muscle pain management, you will get sore. It's a certainty. So stretch, roll, do whatever you do.
Do you have any pills?
Pills? I don't know, Jess, do we have pills?
I can bring
I'm kidding.
Jason, what do you want? What do you want?
Nothing that's legal across all the states you're traveling.
And lastly, don't be a hero. You got to ride tomorrow, unless it's Saturday, then you don't. But other than that, you got to ride tomorrow. Hydrated and you've got the proper nutrition into you. It's a little bit better. You'd be in a better state of mind. But no matter what, you're going to face exhaustion. Mental exhaustion because there's a lot going on, and physical exhaustion. That shift that starts at midnight is tough. Then the next day you got to get up for 6 a.m. shift, which means you're actually up at 4 a.m. So that section of the shifting is really exhausting. It's quite often you'll be up 24 hours straight kind of thing. Hallucinations are great though; they're a lot of fun.
Got a favorite one to share?
No. Just keep an eye on your teammates as well. And when you are tired, understand your teammates' state of mind. They might not be up for a philosophical conversation 7 hours into it or 6 hours into a ride. So just be aware of that. Monitor each other, and and Steve and I have talked about this. There is going to be some tense moments out there because you are tired and you are going to get tested with each other. And words may be said. Ken calls me an asshole 5 times a day. Well, we're not riding. Right? But there may be times where you do get tense with each other. It's part of just being tired. Get over it. Say you're sorry. Everybody move on. Mike and Jill, you learned that years ago.
I'm sorry, Troy.
Still together.
We do that every day.
All right. So navigation, every team's going to have a Garmin. Rob, you got a Garmin for your team today. Everybody else got Garmin's. Follow vehicle and the RV will have an iPad in it with ride with GPS loaded on and the maps preloaded. And there's going to be hard copies of all this stuff. And every van, every follow vehicle, and the RV, and the transport vans as well.
The other note is that the iPads ride with GPS will actually have the routes loaded, so you don't need data to be able to still be looking at the map. Okay, so that would be an advantage there.
Yeah, and if you're comfortable with it, put it on your own device as well if you want to look at stuff. If you want to study your route outside of the iPad that's in the motorhome as an example, put it onto your own device and take a look.
Yeah, so there'll be instructions, you'll see it, but Ride with GPS will give you all the links. You can actually also download it to your smartphone app, so that if you don't have data, you can still see the routes as well.
All right, and then on transitions, stating the obvious, but let's not park in the middle of Highway 40 or whatever it is and transition there. We got to find safe spots to get everybody off the road. So, I say this tongue in cheek, but also be aware of where you're parking, right? If you pull into some farm's driveway and you think it's okay, they may not, right? And there are gun laws that are different down there than ours. So.
Last year we almost got shot in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that we stopped at some, we thought it was an empty restaurant parking lot. And the right next to it, I guess the owner lived in the house right next to it, and she started coming out and yelled at us to get off the property. We thought she was gonna take her gun off.
So, have you got you guys excited yet?
It's full. It makes for a fast transition.
All right, so
that was a flat tire.
So the resources on the ride. So every team, captain, vehicles, whatever, are going to be given resources. So rotation schedule, we're still working on that. The resource book, so that's the Bible. And that's going to involve paper maps, contact information, logistics, safety stuff, what to do in emergency. So it's going to have everything that you need in there. So get familiar with it. And that will be available the day of that we leave. Electronic versions of the map, we talked about that with Ride with GPS. And then you'll be able to see where everybody is live via the spot. So it's a device that we use, goes on the web, and you see where the follow vehicle is.
And we can email some of the electronic versions out before the first day so people can look at them. Right?
Yeah, you'll get that the next. As long as our route isn't changing, you'll get that pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
I hope to God the route's not changing now.
We're not changing anything. We're
Troy wants to
changing,
get
we're
some
gonna change it on the fly.
I haven't stopped holding my breath yet.
Yeah. All right, so again, we talked a lot about teamwork. This is about working together. Need to be safe. We'll get into some of the sort of the peloton formation, so if you can just go on. So, single file, everybody knows that, one behind each other, that's a way of riding. 2 to 4 feet apart. If it's nighttime, a little more distance, so you've got a little bit more time to react, because if something runs out in front, not everybody's going to see it the same as you in the daytime. On to the next one. Probably, this stuff you guys already know, but double pace line, how to rotate around that, so you get side by each, and then the rider on the left slowly gets in front of the guy on the right, guy in the right in the back shifts in behind, everybody shifts up in your 4x4. And this one is a terrible way to pace line, because at some point you're going 4 wide, so you're just asking to get run over. Don't do this. Okay, again, don't do what Donnie Don't does, is this is what not to do. Don't put your strongest rider up a hill in the front and then him have everybody behind him. If the peloton blows up, you blow people's legs up in behind you trying to keep up, and with 150K, no one wants to be in that situation. So the best way is to get someone who's setting pace, keep an eye on the people in the back. You're just keeping a reasonable pace up a hill to make sure that we're all together. So don't be a hero. We all arrive at the same time. No need to sprint up a hill. Okay, so for the first night, the hotel accommodations are booked for teams 1, 2, 3.
Hotel accommodations booked for team 2, 3, and 4. Do we want to talk about the first day?
We're going to get to the first day. Okay, maybe we'll get the combinations then.
That's the.
Let's do it now then.
The ride.
Going to the GPS.
And if the internet actually works, but so first day of the ride is going to look a little bit different than previously in terms of logistics. What's going to happen is that when we launch, everybody, all 5 teams, go and does the usual ride out for the first couple of kilometers on 6th line, right? And at that point in time, around 1 or 2 kilometers out, after they no longer see us at the starting line, teams 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to keep riding. Team 1 actually goes back this time. Okay?
It's completely opposite of the way it's traditionally.
Okay.
So we've got 4 teams. They're going to be doing approximately 35K ride. So it's the first day, shorter ride, but we all go out one giant peloton. There won't be a follow vehicle. There won't be a motorhome. We're just going to head out to a designated spot. The volunteers that would have been with you on that first day in the vans, what will happen is that they will drive the designated van for your team to that rendezvous spot as well. So you have to be, all the teams 2, 3, 4, and 5 need to be fully packed up. Vans are packed up. You're riding. You're not seeing the van. Say goodbye to your family. You're not going back there, and you're not seeing them for another 8 days. Okay?
Very dramatic.
We get the transition point. Your vans are there. Your volunteers are there, and you pack up your bike, and then you start driving, and that starts the rotation schedule. In the meantime, Team 1 is the team that goes back to the start line, gets into the motorhome.
It's in the motorhome, yeah.
The follow vehicle will be there as well, and they will, with motorhome and follow vehicle, and Team 1 in the motorhome, drive out to, can we see it? Just past the border in Sarnia. There's a little designated spot for a starting of the first shift at noon. Okay, so Team 1 starts riding at noon, and they ride their first 6-hour shift at that point in time. So in the meantime, we would have done our ride in the first hour or so, and we'd be driving ourselves towards the border as well. But Team 1 will start riding basically right on time. And what that does is it cuts out that Ontario section that we don't really need to ride, and it helps us save some mileage so that we can actually get to the finish line on time. So that's one of the pieces that we've set up for that first day. So Team 1 finishes riding, Team 2 starts riding at 6 p.m. that day. So Team 2 is potentially, it'll be up to the team that does it. They could skip that first shift, the 30K, because otherwise they'd be within that 24-hour period riding the 150 and the 30, right? If they do ride it, we recommend that team stays behind the peloton most of the way, try not to pull, to save some energy because they're going to be doing 180, 190 during that time period. I would even suggest Team 3, if they're riding, to also kind of stick behind the peloton because they're going to be riding within that time period as well. Team 3 is going to be riding the midnight shift, so it's still within the first 24 hours that they're going to be riding as well.
Yeah, so let's not blow each other up
Yeah,
on the first day.
let's make Team 4 and 5 do more of the work for that 30K because you have much more time before you guys need to ride versus the first couple of teams. Team 2 will ride. They will transition from 6 p.m. to midnight. They will do a midnight transition in Battle Creek for a hotel transition. So there will be a transition set up there already. Team 3 will stay in Battle Creek for the few hours to be prepared for that transition.
So Team 2 really starts their ride
At 6 p.m.
150 kilometers past the point where Team 1 starts
Yes.
in Sarnia.
Exactly.
So they're basically driving from Oakville 6 hours past that point, that initial.
Burlington and on.
Yeah.
They will drive from wherever we finish riding to 150K past the border in Sarnia.
Right, so that initial ride.
Yeah.
They're going to drive past.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Team 1 is coming out full guns blazing this year, right? There's no warm up to this. You're doing a full 150. The reason why we did this is that, as I said at the beginning, the end-to-end distance is 4250. If we included the Ontario part, which cuts out 270 kilometers, our average average distance per day is now approaching 160. And we just thought that's not doable.
Yeah.
Billy, what's the time? The first group's going to leave at noon.
Yeah.
So for them to get from Oakville at 9, presumably around 9 o'clock, they're going to depart. Isn't it about 3 hours of driving?
It's
to
about 3
get-
hours, so that more
It's 260 kilometers.
Okay, so it's going to be really tight for that group to.
No Timmy's, man.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay, I just.
There is no time.
No, okay.
You got the theme? Do you have the theme yet for
Yeah.
Hold it.
So glad I know this.
There's no diddling around. We are.
Well, can we maybe get the opening ceremonies finished
Earlier.
a bit?
It's a good point.
We need to endeavor to make sure we leave on time so the Team 1 does get there. I fully agree, yeah.
Yeah, so, Aaron, you guys put it together, the agenda.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, Billy?
You need to cross the border too.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like at noon time on Saturday. It takes an hour.
Remember when
Well, this one there's a Lions game.
Okay.
It's fluid, remember?
Dynamic, isn't it? Dynamic.
We will learn along the way. So, what will happen is that Team 2 will need to keep in touch with Team 1 to see how you're progressing, because basically you have a 6 p.m. transition to make, and we need to know where that 6 p.m. transition is. Right now, it's planned for near an area called Byron, Michigan, and it's 150K out. That's Byron, Michigan. But if you guys see that, hey, there might be a challenge, then we might need to figure out how we start doing adjustments right away. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe the first day we say, you know what? It's 140. We'll meet you there. We'll start that route, and we'll figure it out along the way.
Please make sure you all have your passports in your pocket.
Yeah, we're going to get to that, so.
I was gonna say, is there a possible process where you can let the border know we're
We do.
coming? So, oh, okay.
There's a bunch of.
Doesn't work.
Okay.
They pretend not to
you
know
tried,
what's
but
going
I
on.
just okay.
Team 3, riding from midnight to 6 a.m., will transition in Shoreham/Stevensville, just on the east side of Lake Michigan. And it'll be another hotel transition. So what that means is that Team 4 is staying in a hotel right in that area. So Team 4, once you're done riding your 30K, you're driving right out to the east shore of Lake Michigan to that town, and you've got a hotel booked for you already. Team 5, go find out wherever you feel like staying because you've got lots of time. Team 1, once they finish riding, they got 24 hours. They can figure out how they want to stay that night as well.
Yeah, so after that point, it's back to the free-for-all on hotels.
Yeah, so teams 2, 3, and 4 don't need to worry about hotels. Team 1 and 2 do on the first day.
1 and 5.
Sorry, 1 and 5.
And you're gonna let us know our numbers tomorrow?
Yeah, as soon as
It's up to Troy.
Yeah, well, basically, we just wanted to get the rotation schedule finished so we know what all the teams are looking like, and that way we can assign the teams appropriately. Okay. All right, next one. Final preparations. Ryan, is this where you're coming?
I have Prime.
Is that what it is? Maya?
Prime's only 3.
Gotta make sure we have everything really organized. You're gonna be out, 2 of the shifts are gonna be during the evening time or some kind of darkness, right? So going through and having all your stuff in just one bag all together is not the smartest way to do it. So the way we've been doing it in the past is we take a combination of packing bags as well as Ziplocs, and we coordinate it to exactly what I have in here. So I know that I can reach in and grab and know what I'm grabbing at all times, right? So I know that I'll have this labeled that this is going to be just my plain shorts and jerseys. So I'll have 3 or 4 of those in there as well as the shorts. And then I know that when I'm trying to grab for something I need a jersey, I know that's in this bag. I have another bag that's going to be of all my accessories. So arm warmers, leg warmers, toque, gloves, and another one as well. So again, if I have my light, I just look in here and I say, okay, well, no, that's in here, grab it and go, right? Because the last thing you want to do is be in a motorhome or inside of your car and be fumbling and figuring out, where's my arm warmers, where's my gloves, right? I do an assortment. I do a lot of this stuff in here in the Ziploc because it's easier to pack down. You can kind of squish out all the air and it makes it nice and compact for you. My casual clothes for during the day, I throw into these things, and that way you can keep that separate as well, right? I also keep a garbage bag inside of here as well. For one, if it rains on you, you don't want to put your soaking clothes inside of your dry stuff. As well as if you want to do laundry, you want to separate that as well. You have a whole separate bag for that as well, so you keep it, from the fresh stuff. In the bag is typically where you want to put all your stuff that you're not going to need access to while you're also in the van. You got to figure you have that cargo van, you have 6 people in there, and you have your bag stacked in the back. So when you're inside the van, don't expect to ever be able to get access to this, right? So I typically I have back here, a second bag, which I have all of the stuff I would need while I'm in the car. And also stuff that's delicate that you don't want breaking. So the helmet always stays on the top, because again, if this gets thrown back and forth, you don't want that cracking. My glasses in here. I have stuff like my laptop. I have a camera as well that I'm putting in here as well. And that always stays with me in the car. And that way it's separate from this, and I can grab,
So you don't put your helmet in your ride kit? Because I have a ride kit box.
That would be your bag then.
Yeah.
That's my bag.
Yeah. So it depends on how comfortable you feel with it. I know this is a soft bag, and that's why I don't like putting, delicate stuff in here as well. But basically, anything I need to have access to, batteries, phones, chargers, cables, all that kind of stuff, I leave into one bag, and that way I have it on me all the times. And this one goes to the back. It's up to you how you want to separate it, but I like to separate it this way. Keeps it more organized. In terms of the gear, I do it according to, again, what I'm riding into. So this is my cold temperature bag. I have my jacket, the leggings in there, the bully thicker socks, and that's what I'm going to need for probably the day 1, day 2. By the time you get to day 3, this kind of gets put into the bottom, and you never see it again because then you're into the southern weather of 30, 27 degrees, right? And that's when transition to this one, which is probably just your normal bag as well, right? As well, you want to keep all of your other gear. So, separate from the packing of the actual clothes, you also want to have your kit for your actual bike. I don't know if you guys are going over that later, but it's basically a tote that you're going to hold all of your repair kit stuff in case you have any kind of malfunctions or any kind of repairs you need to do. Everything gets labeled. Again, this is from, I think, maybe 4 years ago. I was Team 1, I think. All the stuff goes in here, and that goes into a tote, which then gets put into the follow vehicle at all times. So you're always thinking about, well, for me, I know I think 3 things when I get out of this ride. I have my one bag with my clothes, my one bag with all my electronics and separate stuff that I need in the car, and then my tote, which has all my bike hard gear. So this is stuff that you need on the road. So if
Is
you
that
have
in here somewhere?
I think we have
It's
a
in the
rider's
rider
manual
manual with a list.
that you guys can review as well. There's a whole list of stuff that will review with you guys of what you need to have with you.
Yeah, that was sent out at the beginning. Maybe we can send that at the beginning.
I will resend that with the map directions that we have there, so.
I'm more trying to give you an idea of how to pack those resources versus what you need to pack, because that's all listed out already.
So, where's your going out clothes?
Am I going out close?
Your blazer and the dress shoes?
I don't have any time to go out. You're riding.
Your Vegas clothes.
Vegas clothes.
In my husband's suitcase.
I leave it inside the actual ride bag. So I have a separate. That's why I have these packing bags.
Do you have somebody coming?
So again, the captain will lead that conversation. We'll keep going. So food, be aware of any special dietary considerations. So load up appropriately. As I said, we're shop before getting on the road because we're going to get into some more sparse areas as time moves on. So make sure that you get the things that you need in case you run into closed restaurants, closed grocery stores, and that kind of thing. So plan ahead.
One quick thing about that, important. We're with our follow cart drivers as well as a motorhome. I think it was tradition to call ahead when we're picking up food for ourselves and come to transition. Ask to see if the follow car or the RV needs any food, especially when these timing and shifts are so tight, and also because a lot of times if it's a midnight shift, nothing's open. So call ahead, make sure if you want to bring anything into them, you can grab it for them, right?
To add to what Ryan's saying, I see a little additional complication with the time shift, because we're following the Toronto time. So in certain areas, it's going to be the local time is 5 a.m. we're doing the shift. You won't find breakfast in these little towns. So, so you may have to like find like dinner stuff and get a takeout and to eat as breakfast. And then so that carries along with the food for the volunteers. You may have to take the dinner as a takeout and bring in as breakfast at 6 a.m. for the 6 a.m. shift for the let's say the RV or the follow vehicle driver.
That's a good point for the new people. Like, it's our responsibility to feed the RV drivers and the follow vehicle drivers to bring food for them.
So yeah, you're going to have one shift of either RV or follow vehicle drivers with you, when you're off shift. But it's the other ones that are on the road that you need to provide for.
And then so it's going to get worse as you go into the 2-hour time difference, because in 6 a.m. shift, it's actually 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's a good point, Danny, because we never actually went, we only had an hour difference in previous ones, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good point.
Sandwiches, honestly.
So when you're sitting down and having a meal, think of ahead of time, say who's you're going to bring food for. You may have to put a takeout.
You know what? The other suggestion that Stephanie's talking about is that, we might want to keep some sandwiches, things like that, in the fridge in the RV. In a motorhome, always have some food in there, just because we are going to be remote. Sometimes it's tough when you're doing a midnight or 6 a.m. transition to get food, and sometimes I'm not sure you want to leave the food around. The hotel may not have a fridge, so just try coordinate. I think the key is the follow vehicle people don't have a chance to run away. They're really locked in for 12 hours on this type of a ride. Motorhome has some flexibility, but maybe we should make sure we keep some food in that fridge for the drivers and the
that's a really good point. Yeah, that way, that's a good point. So yeah, we'll figure out how we're going to.
Yeah, we just keep stocking. We just stuff that doesn't go bad right away.
Apples,
we keep
bananas,
in
and
the fridge.
something.
Yeah, when you go shopping, pick up a couple extra sandwiches, put it in the fridge, right?
Well,
and then when it's full, then we can stop.
You won't be able to bring food over the border, so
That's only the first day.
that's one of your first stops once you're actually buried in the States is grab some of
Well,
that.
it's not too bad in the first, like Pinch County, Illinois, because it's like lots of, not just daylight, but it's also the same time zone as we. And then there are actually, places that are open all night. But as you go into the Midwestern states,
it's gonna be different.
There's going to be nobody in little towns, and they close their, like along Route 66.
Back to your point around topping up early in the shift. So maybe the first shift on the American side of the border, we're going to get gas, maybe stop and pick up.
Yeah, pick up extra. I mean, it's not going to last for 5 days, but yeah. Another pro tip, don't fill up your water bottle in Flint, just saying. All right, keep going.
Beer, Gatorade.
All right, against my better judgment, we're supposed to treat the support drivers well. They're not our domestiques. They're not here to clean up for us. They're not here to be our servants. They are here to support us, keep us safe, help this thing move forward. They are, when they're with you, they are your team. So make sure that you treat them as such, right? And they do like to be fed because licorice and chips only go so far.
And at point 4, let them rest. So like I'm thinking, for example, in the first day, we're not doing that dynamic where we're driving the volunteers out first, right? So there are going to be a couple of volunteers for team 3 riding from midnight to 6. The volunteers with them during that day when you're getting there, you want them to see if they can get some rest in that in the van, during the day.
All right, moving on. So the team riding is responsible for the food that they eat in the motorhome. So, if you want food in the motorhome and you're coming in, put it in the motorhome, right? Don't expect that the motorhome people are going to fill it for you. That's your responsibility. Again, just like the follow drivers, they are not your domestiques. You come in, you create a mess, you clean up your mess, okay? There'll be garbage bags there. You're responsible for getting it all in the garbage bag and taking care of it. And again, they're here to help us and support us, not clean up after us. We're all grown-ups. So. Again, this was the point that Ryan had just made. For the team that is on shift, whether it be a motorhome team or a follow vehicle team, bring them food. But again, I do like that idea of stocking fridge.
I have a bunch, like before in past years, if you kind of have something or somebody's donated something, say whether it's Sketch or somebody's given me like 6 boxes of Cliff Bars or whatever, are we okay to put them in the motorhome and share them as
Sure,
or
no one will eat
whatever?
that, but yeah.
Hey, that's probably why they donated it to me.
Exactly.
Comfort,
Well,
FinCor donated them,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, bring them in, but yeah. Davey, do you want to speak to this slide now?
Yeah, Dave.
Yay, Dave.
Okay, so everybody knows this. I don't know why I'm saying this stuff. So the follow vehicle, it's a Dodge Caravan. I have access to emergency lights, so I'll be outfitting it with emergency lights. So we're very visible. So I've just got a beacon on top. I've got a couple of flashing lights at the back. We're going to have our 4-ways on, and I've got an LED spotlight that I can use if we need it for something else.
There's another slide for you.
Oh, the horn system. So this one's kind of important. So to warn you guys for anything, we have a system in place. So 1 tap's going to equal a car or maybe like a small truck. 2 taps are going to equal two cars. If we do a long tap or a long horn, we want you off the road. Okay? And if it sounds urgent, get off the road urgently. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's pretty much it for that stuff. So this one's good too. So etiquette, so stay behind us, we stay behind you at all times. We're going to give you a buffer about 25 to 30 feet. Okay, we're going to be close enough that a car's not going to come between you and us, and we're going to be far enough away that we can stop in time. For the drivers who haven't done it already, but most of you have, cover your brake pedal. Make sure you know what you're doing. We try and use the shoulder as much as possible. So if it's a paved shoulder, we may use half the shoulder, half the lane. Okay, we may use the whole lane. We have to look at the dynamics of the road and the area around it. And if it's a 4-lane road, you're going to take the entire right lane. Okay. If it's a 2-lane road where it's back and forth, then we're going to kind of use a bit of the shoulder too, depending on what we have. If it's all gravelly and stuff, or if it's not busy, we'll just use the lane as normal. Okay. So anticipate turns ahead on the route. If there's a turn coming up, we'll honk the horn and we'll actually move over to the lane to the left if it's a left turn. And now we've got the lane covered for you guys. You can now move over to the left. Okay. For the drivers, check your mirrors constantly. You never know what's coming up behind you, so you can anticipate. Make sure you use all your emergency lights for the drivers. And if you feel tired, just switch. Right? You guys know your bodies better than others. So if you want to do 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours, or an hour each, or whatever you want to do, it's up to the team. They can work that out between their dynamics.
Switch rotors.
Dead now?
Yeah.
No? Any questions on the follow vehicle?
The only comment I would add is that there are some situations that you might have gone under where there might be 6 a.m. rush hour traffic, situations where it's a 2-lane road, and what will happen is you might find you have to pull over a lot to let cars pass, and in which case your team and your captain will need to make a decision with the follow vehicle on whether it's safe to simply say, guys, ride a pace line, send the follow vehicle up a little bit further so that cars can pass and you're not stopping every second, because that can first of all slow you down and second of all cause frustration on all sides because you're not getting going. So you'll need to make some of those game time decisions as well if there's a lot of traffic on certain areas. I don't think there's going to be a lot of traffic.
Chicago will be bad.
Chicago will be bad?
There's some bike paths out that way.
At least we're going south of it.
Also, Dave, I don't know if you covered this already, but if there's a 2-lane road, like one going either way, and there's dotted lines that cars can pass, that's the times when we'll honk when a car is going to overtake.
Yeah.
But in case there's like a 4-lane road, like 2 lanes going either way, and cars can easily just pass us.
If cars have their own dedicated lane,
we're not going to honk.
Yeah. So what that means is we don't want you guys weaving in and out of lanes that we're not comfortable into, right? Because you're protected in that lane, but you're probably not going to be protected in this lane, okay? In the years past, we've had riders where they're kind of going out a bit, and we just want to make sure they stay within their lane. So.
And be wary of more of sporadic behavior on the part of drivers. We had a year when we were going up a hill and it's a 2-lane road and there was a tractor trailer coming one way and another car trying to overtake, and it didn't look like it was going to make it, so it just happened to be able to pass.
If something's happening in front of you guys and it doesn't look good, then get off the road too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Dave. All right, so while we're out here, we're ambassadors for Wellspring. We're riding for Wellspring. We're fundraising for Wellspring. We are ambassadors of Wellspring. So you might get into it with some guy in a pickup truck. Remember what jersey you're wearing, okay? So it's always the guy in the pickup truck, by the way. So now that all this comes across, it's a little bit scary. There's a lot of things that have to get done right on time. But I tell you, you guys are in for an adventure unlike anything you've done. And it is an adventure of a lifetime, and it's going to be so much fun. And by the time you get to Vegas, it's such an emotional, raw moment. And it's just tough to describe. Words can't capture it. But you look back and go, what an amazing time. And yeah, that kind of covers that off. So we talked a bit about this, so very quickly, launch day, 7 a.m., things get started. In Oakville, on to the next one. Bring your friends, families, neighbors, whoever out. There'll be some breakfast acknowledgments, the ceremonial group ride, which this year is actually a group ride, except for Team 1. Come in your kit, so you've got your jerseys, come in that. Let's get the photos done early so we can get the progression moving. Get out before 9 o'clock and get Team 1 down to the border where they need to cross. So Billy pretty much covered this already. So just back to that one. So this is the route for day 1, basically just up through North Burlington into Waterdown, where we'll get together at Joe Sam's Park in Waterdown. The people the volunteers that are with us will take the vans and meet us there. Again, let's not blow each other up on that ride. There's a lot more to come. So, yeah, it's just articulating what we just said. So on Friday, we arrive in Boulder City, 80 kilometers outside of Vegas. Not quite 80 kilometers, but the way that I think Billy put the road, it makes it 80K.
81.5.
81.5K. Friday night, get in as usual. Get in, clean up the vans, get the racks off the roof. We don't need them anymore. Wash the exteriors of the van if necessary. Last year they were absolutely disgusting. It was just a biomass, on the front of this thing. It was so gross. So as you're coming in and meeting your friends and family in the whole bit, It just looks super gross with all these bugs hanging off. So let's.
So why don't we identify the car wash in Boulder City now, so we know where to bring it.
Yeah, might not be a bad idea.
We could have a washing party.
So Friday, Saturday morning, get up. So it's 81.5, whatever said, ride-in. Need to be on the road by 9 o'clock. We're trying to get into Las Vegas for around noonish. We'll have 2 designated rest stops along the way, and then we'll have a comfortable pace into the finish line. So coming through mostly bike path, a little bit of road around Henderson, I think, and then up into Vegas.
Yeah,
Is
I mean,
that 9 a.m. Toronto time?
What's the hotel name again in Vegas?
Delano.
No, that's 9 a.m. local time.
Okay.
DEL.
Thanks for the clarification. Got a good night's sleep, but everybody's been waiting for 3 hours.
75K of the 80K on the final day is on paved bike paths.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then we have a regrouping point a few kilometers from the finish line where we'll meet with the volunteers, the motorhome, and then we'll all go in as a big Peloton group into the finish. And we'll end in there's a golf course right next to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. We'll pull into the parking lot, whatever it's arranged, and have a short celebration there, walk over to the Vegas sign, get a giant group photo, and continue on.
On day 1, what time are we to show up at Wellsprings?
7.
Before 7, 6:45, we want to be there.
Thank you.
Make it 6 around
And
1 hour.
don't bring your car. I made a mistake last year of bringing my car to.
You can't leave it
And I couldn't leave it there. I had to scramble and get something.
Unless you're on Ferguson, then you can't leave it.
Yeah.
It's still there from last year. Yeah.
Do you envision any of these bike paths giving you problems though?
Do we envision?
Other
No.
slower riders?
We're not envisioning anything. We're just
We're not
fluid.
envisioning anything at the moment yet.
No, we actually did talk about that upstairs, given where it is and hopefully time of day. Hopefully it's not bad. So.
We'll see what happens. The other thing is that on that last day, that 80K ride, we don't have to run. It's not necessarily a full peloton of 5 teams. We can just go out as individuals, 5 separate teams, and just end the regrouping.
They come together at the very end.
Yeah.
But Danny, you do raise a good point. So after the last team arrives on Friday night, clocks go to local time. So again, we're not showing up at 3 o'clock local time, and everyone's been waiting.
That's funny. What? Sorry, and you're expecting us to arrive at the hotel at what time?
Noon to 1. We always say noon, and never is. So weekend schedule, we arrive. Well, we went through this.
So we didn't do Saturday night.
Yeah.
No.
And that's a picture of Las Vegas.
The finish line is the fabulous Las Vegas sign, which is just 1 block south of the Delano. So the Valley High Golf Club is right there. So you'll go past the sign. We have space in that parking lot at the golf club so that everyone that comes around can park safely. And there's no better visual as far as a celebration as the fabulous Las Vegas sign. So. Sorry, just to be able to say, we actually, the celebration dinner that night is at the Sealy Restaurant, which is at the Valley High Golf Club, so you'll have some outdoor patio space, we'll have indoor space. Again, if there's family that's coming in a little bit later or want a night shot of everyone near the fabulous Las Vegas sign, again, we're right there. You don't have to wind up traveling down to be able to get a hold of them.
Is there any special parking for the vans and the RV that you arranged?
Some of them will be at the Delano, but it's all covered things. So the motorhome, I'm just in the final stages of doing that. It is probably is also going to be at the Valley High because there's a police station right there.
So while we're in Las Vegas, we can't have the party van. It's once it gets parked, it's parked. The return of the bikes and vehicles. You're working out with your captains. People want to be on the road. So I'm leaving on as early as Sunday. So everything has to get packed in before noon. You may want to think about doing it Saturday, depending on what you're planning on Saturday night. So
while you're in Vegas, are you still an ambassador of Wellspring?
If you're wearing Wellspring gear, yes.
So you'll find Mike pass through the ditch without cutting.
that Las Vegas?
I do plan on representing Canada for sure.
Is that a fabulous Las Vegas sign in your pocket, or you just?
All right. So the return support drivers, there's none here, but they're bringing our bikes back. Take the majority of your gear back with you. They're not transporting everything. Really, it's just the bikes, right? So if you're trying to smuggle something back, we don't want them arrested. Just your bikes. All right, reminders. So you've got your jerseys. You're going to need those. You're going to get T-shirts day of, so hopefully you won't forget them. Passports, you're not getting over without the passports. Laptops. Chargers, helmets, shoes. But most of this other stuff, except for your laptop, which got your stuff on it, most of the other stuff can get caught. Needs your passport. We don't need Team 1 arriving at the border at noon and realize that someone forgot their passport. So that would be a problem. Travel expenses.